You've done it. You've spent weeks, maybe even months, coming up with the perfect brand name. It's catchy, it's memorable, you just know it's going to work. But what if all that effort could get tossed out the window just because your name sounds a little too much like someone else's? See, this is the nightmare scenario for so many creators and entrepreneurs. The problem isn't that your name is bad, not at all. It's that it might have a secret twin out there, a doppelganger that's so similar it creates a legal conflict. So today we're going to pull back the curtain on the hidden rules that decide if your brand can truly stand on its own or if it's just living in another brand's shadow. All right, so how do we figure all this out? Here's our roadmap. First, we'll look at the two main hurdles any new brand name has to clear. Then, we're diving deep into the two big legal tests they use, the confusion test and the association test. And finally, we'll wrap it all up with why this is so critical for your brand's future. Let's get into it. Getting a brand name the green light isn't just a simple yes or no deal. You should really think of it like trying to get through two different security gates. And here's the kicker, each gate is looking for a completely different kind of problem. And this slide, well, it lays it out perfectly. That first gate checks for what they call absolute grounds. Basically, is there something inherently wrong with your name on its own? Like you can't trademark the word juicy if all you're doing is selling juice. It's just too descriptive. But it's that second gate that we're really interested in today, relative grounds. This is where they put your name side by side with everyone else's and ask, is this too close for comfort? Yep, that's where we're spending all our time. We are going deep on relative grounds. Because this is the spot where a name that seems totally fine on its own can get stopped dead in its tracks. It's all about how your brand fits into the wider world. Okay, so let's hit that first major test, the likelihood of confusion. The name pretty much gives it away, right? The core question is super simple. Could a regular person in a real-world shopping situation get your brand mixed up with somebody else's? Now, the key word to lock onto here is likelihood. The law doesn't need stone-cold proof that someone actually bought the wrong thing. Nope. All it needs to see is that there's a real danger of that confusion happening. It's all about protecting us, the public, from grabbing the wrong product because two brands just look or sound way too similar. And I love this quote because it just nails who they're trying to protect. They're not picturing some super careful researcher comparing two products online, checking every detail. They're thinking about you and me rushing through the grocery store, trying to remember that brand name we saw in an ad last week, and just grabbing something off the shelf. We are the unwary consumer with an imperfect recollection, and the law is built to have our back. You know, this whole idea has actually changed quite a bit over time. The old school laws used to say that two brands had to be in the exact same business to be in conflict, but things have gotten way broader. A key update in India's trademark laws back in 1999, for instance, expanded this to cover not just the same goods, but similar goods. And trust me, that completely changed the game. And here is a perfect real-world example of what I mean. Somebody wanted to register Gold Con D for a brand of infant food. The problem? You've probably heard of Glucon D, the famous brand of glucose biscuits. Phonetically, they sound almost identical. And while baby food and biscuits aren't the same thing, they are definitely similar. They're both food products you'd find in a store. The court looked at it and said, absolutely not. Registration refused. Why? To prevent that exact likelihood of confusion we've been talking about. Okay, so that's the confusion test. Pretty straightforward. But there's another test, one that's a bit more subtle, that really kicks in when a huge, famous brand is in the picture. This is called the association test, or more commonly, trademark dilution. Now, you really got to lean in for this one because it's a totally different animal. Dilution is not about whether a customer gets confused or tricked into buying the wrong thing. It's about protecting the raw power and uniqueness of a famous brand. It stops other people from slowly chipping away at the one-of-a-kind identity that a big brand has spent millions of dollars and decades building. Here's the best way to think about it. Imagine a famous brand is like a crystal-clear radio station. You know exactly what it is the second you hear it. Now, a new brand with a similar name, even for a totally unrelated product, is like adding static to that frequency. It doesn't trick you into thinking it's the same station, but it definitely weakens the clarity and power of that original signal. That's dilution. This case makes the whole idea click. Caltex, the huge petroleum company, found out someone was trying to use the name Caltex on watches. Now, let's be real. Nobody on Earth is going to confuse a gallon of gasoline with a wristwatch. There's zero chance of confusion. But the court agreed that using that famous name would make people automatically associate the watches with a massive oil company. That mental link weakens or dilutes the power of the Caltex brand, so registration was refused. So after all that legal stuff, what does this actually mean for you, right now as you're trying to build your own brand? Let's boil this all down into the key things you absolutely need to remember. First off, a simple Google search for your name just isn't going to cut it. You have to think bigger. Second, it's not just about spelling. How your brand sounds is absolutely critical. Third, if your name is even in the same ballpark as a famous brand, just know they have a much, much bigger protective shield thanks to those dilution laws. Fourth, never forget that the term similar goods is way broader than you probably think. And last but not least, always, always design with that busy, distracted, average consumer in mind. So as you move forward with your brand, you have to ask yourself this one simple question. Are you creating something that's truly an original, a clear and distinct signal in a very crowded marketplace? Or are you running the risk of just being an echo of something that's already out there? The answer to that question could truly make all the difference.